What's up, everyone? This is Aitch, also known as Bishop Cosplay. And the reason why I'm doing this video, something that I don't do very often, is because I feel like I need to get a couple things off my mind when it comes to this whole blackface and cosplay. Before I really get started, however, let me preface a few things first. And what I want to say is, from the jump, if you're watching this video, if you live in a place or country, a city, state, town, whatever, where you have the First Amendment right of free speech and free expression or anything akin to that, great. Because I feel like whatever you want to do, whatever you want to say, be it stand on the corner and shout down the government, say people suck, if you want to dress a certain way, express a certain way, that is your God-given right. That is the right that you have to do that. However, you have a responsibility of being able to deal with whatever people decide they want to say to you. Because there's going to be people out there that's going to disagree with whatever it is that you have to say, what you wear, how you feel. And they're going to exercise their rights to do it as well. So how you react to people exercising their rights will really say more about you as a person. So with that, where are we today? Young lady by the name of Lady Lemon Cosplay in Argentina decided that she was going to do Vivian from Dragon Age Inquisition. And she wanted to do the character so much that she also wanted to darken her skin. Now, mind you, we haven't even seen any parts of this costume besides the helmet, which kind of came after the fact. We haven't seen anything else, but this young lady decided to do a makeup test. And pretty much she created a crap storm on the internet, and people have gone in and told her they're supporting her and her cosplay, or they're disagreeing with the whole thing altogether. Me personally, I'm disagreeing with the idea of you having to color your skin. Now, just as a side note, this whole thing is reminiscent of the same thing that happened about this time last year with a young lady in Germany who decided she wanted to do Michonne for her cosplay. And I'll be darned if the same thing didn't happen. And I'm actually going to go on a little side note here and say I wouldn't be surprised if this young lady in Argentina isn't doing this just for the attention because she knew. But I'm not in her head. I might not be in the right place to say that, so whatever. But that's just my theory. However, getting into this whole Michonne thing. So, same thing happened. Young lady decided she wanted to do Michonne. She colored her skin. She flattened her nose because she wanted to accurately portray this character as art. I disagreed with it. However, I had a talk with her and we came to an agreement about what she was doing. I'm not 100% happy with it, but again, who am I to say that you can't do it? I can't say that she can or can't do it, but I can or can't say that I don't think it's right. Because I feel like this. If your costume by itself on its own merits is on point, if it's accurate to the character, if your props are looking good, even if you have the bonus of being able to imitate that character, it should stand on its own merit. It shouldn't have to stand on the fact by you going that so-called extra mile and coloring your skin. There's no reason for this to be your costume. Because it's something I have to wake up to every day. It's something I have to deal with every day. And I feel like it's an insult to me and those that look like me when somebody goes out to paint their skin as a convenience, like it's an accessory. And, you know, they can go home and they can wash this off. I cannot wash this off. I cannot take this off. This is my everyday reality. This is something that we as a people, and with our history, this is something that we have to deal with regularly. This is why we get upset when people decide to do this. There are many ways to pull it off. I've seen people that have been able to do Michonne and get everything down to the vest and the shirt, the sword, and even the hair. And it's on point. Heck, if you look at Vivian from Dragon Age, I'm not even I'm not even understanding why this lady is even throwing on a wig. The woman's hair is that long. She has a very short buzz cut. So why she's adding a wig to this, I don't know. Okay, to me that shows she's not even really studying the character to get it right. If your hair is dark and wavy, but okay, so let's cover some of the arguments people try to make when it comes to this whole idea of why it is or isn't okay to color your skin and white facing and things of that sort. Because, you know, a lot of people say things without thinking or actually going and doing their homework. So first thing is looking at characters in the media and in the movies. Okay, people like to bring up the fact that, well, when you look at television, when you look at the movies, well, Robert Downey Jr., he did it, Eddie Murphy did it, Dave Chappelle did it. What about when they made white girls, and what about Nick Cannon? All right, so look, Robert Downey Jr., if any of you really bothered to watch Tropic Thunder, it wasn't just about four men trying to make a war movie in the woods. The whole movie itself was nothing but about characters and stereotypes. Okay, you had the child star who's grown up that nobody's really watching anymore. You had the drugged out star that's past his prime. You had the hardcore rapper who was secretly gay and trying to hide it. And then, of course, you have Robert Downey Jr.'s character, which everyone is focused on. Robert Downey Jr.'s character was that of a method actor who had gone so far into his role that it made people understand or try to figure out why beyond belief could not a black actor have done that role. And if you haven't figured that out, then maybe you need to watch movies like, oh, I don't know, Exodus, maybe? How on God's green earth, in a movie that was mostly about Hebrews and Egyptians, the lead actors were Aussie and British? I don't know. Go figure. It's like there was no way possible Hollywood could have gone out and gotten big actors to play in those roles. Yet the movie still tanked. It happens. And of course, you know, Ridley Scott and Christian Bale, they stood up for that movie. You have to scratch your head and say, why? Why? I'm sorry, I can't support Ridley Scott after that, especially after the half-assed explanation that he gave. But it's so many movies, it's so many roles, there's so many things out there where characters that are of color have lost roles to people who are not. And people try to defend that. And you wonder why we get upset when somebody takes a character of ours and darkens their skin. That's thing number one. Now, if you want to talk about, Dave Chappelle and Eddie Murphy, well, that's what you call satire. That's what you call taking a role and using those roles to look at society of how it is and where we fit in it, which in many cases we don't. That's what happened. Then you have to look at Nick Cannon, who actually white-faced to attempt to sell records. And we all saw how that went. It tanked. Then, of course, you got white chicks. I'm sorry, white people. If you want to use that as an excuse of saying that was really okay for black people to do, no. No, not by a long shot. It wasn't funny. It wasn't right. Two wrongs don't make a right. Just because somebody decided to take black face and flip it upon his head doesn't mean that it's right. Okay? That should say a lot to anybody out there about somebody taking something that's a hot button topic and trying to find some good out of it. No, no, no. White chicks, no. Okay? And again, this whole thing comes back to the idea of the reason why a lot of people of color find this coloring thing so offensive is, again, you have to look at the roles of black people in society, be it in America or most other places in the world. In most places, we are still a minority. We are still not in all positions of power. So you can sit there all you want and holler about, well, America has a black president. That's great. We have one Out of 43 other presidents, this is our first one. It took us that long to get one. And people are still not happy about it. If anything, things in the United States have gotten worse. And some of you will sit there and say, well, you haven't experienced the overt racism, or you haven't gone through some of the things that people before you have gone through. And in some ways, yeah, thank God I didn't have to worry about getting beaten over the heads or chased down by dogs or had hoses turned on to me. But I have been detained by police for no reason. I have gotten let go from jobs without adequate reason. I have had lots of things that I've had happen to me that I'm sure had a lot to do with me looking like this. I have worked and been to places where people have asked, is this real? Or why are you wearing that nappy hair? Or your hair smells. Okay? So, no, I might not have been through a lot of the more violent forms of racism, but I have still gone through it. A lot of us have still gone through it. A lot of us are still going through it. And a lot of us are still scared. I mean, you have to look at the fact that this year we had one random dude that just decided, I'm going to go shoot 9 people in a church. Could have been any of us. You had somebody just this past week decided he was going to go shoot up a school. Could have been any of us. You have cops every other month someplace that decides he's going to shoot an unarmed black man. That could be me any day. So please, don't pretend to sit there and tell me that my life is a lot better than other people. Because in some ways it is, but in many ways it's not. And that's why a lot of us get upset when people take away the little bit that we have. Because coming back to the whole cosplay thing, the reason why a lot of us are still really upset about stuff like this, because again, going back to not just the movies, but within the comics, within all forms of media that, so geek friendly nowadays. I mean, you'd be challenged to really think of any black characters that are really popular right now that we have, that we can make our own. I mean, sure, you have Black Panther. Black Panther is one of the most visible characters right now. You have Storm. And of course, I do Bishop. And Bishop gets a lot of love because Bishop is not a character that a lot of people do. But when you look at a lot of these other characters out there, like Firestorm, when you look at Black Lightning and Luke Cage and so many others, they don't get that same kind of love like Superman, Batman, Captain America, and so many others get. So, we have to take some of those characters and other characters as well and do what we can. We have to make do with what we have. So yeah, it is a bit offensive to some of us when with the few black characters that we get, that with all the white characters, with all the non-POC characters out there that someone could cosplay, because somebody wants to be accurate, she has to color her skin. That's a problem. That is a problem. And again, I'm not going to say that you can't do that. Do I feel like you shouldn't? I don't think you should. Because I'm going to look at you funny. If I see someone on the cosplay floor, yeah, I'm going to look at them funny. And I'm going to wonder, what was going through your mind when you decided today would be the day that you would use this as my, something that I fight for something that I got to go through shit, as your accessory, something that you could wash off, something that, okay, for the time being that you're wearing this, you might catch a little bit of heat, but you're not going to get pulled over, you're not going to get shot at, you're not going to get discriminated against for a job, you're not going to get looked at like you're a thug, you're not going to get looked at for being uneducated once you take this off. So, with that, I'm going to wrap it up. I'm going to say this, people. When you decide that that's something that you're going to do, think, am I going to offend somebody? Is it going to piss somebody off? Is it going to get me some comments that I'm going to have to contend with? And if the answer is yeah, you might want to really consider if you can handle that kind of attention. Because quite frankly, don't do it if later on you're going to have to say I'm sorry. Don't do anything that eventually you're going to have to apologize for. Because once you decide that you're going to do an action, you have to be big enough to own it. If I can do Cyclops, Superman, or any cosplay I feel like doing without having to change this, so should you. You should be able to do that. It's all about the clothing. My skin color is not your accessory. Okay, before I wrap this up, actually I did think of one more thing I have to say, and this goes to everyone out there who does not consider themselves a person of color, and that is this. Depending on where you stand on this whole subject, if you don't understand exactly what the furor is all about, ask somebody. That means asking your friend the hard questions. Because if you're not going to ask, you're not going to understand. If you sit there in silence, you're not going to understand. If all you have to go on are your own opinions, you're not going to understand. Nothing hurts with taking the time out and asking all those black friends that some of you claim that you have, okay, why are people upset over this? Why are people angry about this? Why are you upset over this? Why does this bother you? That way, when we express ourselves to you, you get a better understanding as to why certain things piss us off even though they don't piss you off. Also, of course, and this is not to be smart, but seriously, Google is your friend. Look up things like Black Pete. Look up things like blackface. Look up things like Robert Downey Jr. and other things. Everything that you have a question about concerning blackface and cosplay and Halloween and the connotations. And don't just, while this happened in history, understand why this is still problematic even right now. Because again, learning is half the battle. Knowing what to do with that knowledge when we get upset is even better, so that way you can at least empathize. Because the problem comes in when you see these things go up and the first thing is, well, I don't understand, just get over it. Telling someone to get over something that has been a thorn in our side for 400 plus years is not the way to go about doing some things. So again, with that, I'm out. If any of you have any questions that you want to ask me directly. I will see what I can do to help you. Other than that, please think before you do. And if you decide that you're going to do it, know what you're going to do if you're in an uncomfortable situation.